After experiencing 36 setbacks and finally successfully signing with a record company, a Beijing drifter singer unfortunately died in a car accident and was reborn on a student who failed the college entrance examination. I have wasted my life, but when I return, I am still a teenager and my dreams remain the same. My life is up to me, and I must live a wonderful life. Several years later. Tianhou. Brother, tonight is the final stop of my global tour. Why don't you come? When I sing my famous song to 100,000 fans, I will change the "dear" in the lyrics to your name. Heavenly King. Oh my God, I heard that your entertainment empire has officially launched its listing plan. Little brother, I have directly returned to the casino's annual 9-figure resident singing invitation, and I have traveled thousands of miles to become a dragon envoy. Entertainment industry tycoon. Brother, being your assistant is my dream. Don't wake up in this lifetime. A legendary song scene began in the summer of 1996 in the Chinese calendar. Keywords of the novel. After failing the college entrance examination, I became a big star without a pop-up window. After failing the college entrance examination, I became a big star. Download the complete text. After failing the college entrance examination, I became a big star. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Disappointment in the exam and prosperity in the love field. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Disappointment in the exam and prosperity in the love field. Li Mingbo, a contestant from the annual finals of Magic Avenue, encountered a car accident on his way to the competition site. Despite unsuccessful rescue efforts, he passed away at the People's Hospital at 1:13 a.m. on X/X/2021 at the age of 33. New Entertainment Network. South City No. 2 Middle School, a corner of the playground. The boy sat on the muddy ground, with his back against a pillar on the horizontal bar, motionless like a acupoint, but his expression varied greatly. First, he was confused, then shocked, then conflicted, and finally returned to calmness. With the fusion of memories in his mind, the boy finally determined one thing. It was not a dream, he was reborn on a planet called Earth. Earth is not the Earth where Li Mingbo lived, but a parallel space quite similar to Earth. My original name was Li Guan, male, 18 years old, a senior high school student from Nanchur No. 2 Middle School. Today is June 25, 1996, the day of the release of the college entrance examination in the Chinese lunar calendar. It is 1 month earlier than the Black July of the same period on Earth in the previous life. The original owner's score was 3 points lower than the minimum score for undergraduate studies. Due to giving up college when filling out the application, he became a failed student. With an extremely depressed mood, the original owner arrived alone in this single and parallel bar area, hanging upside down on the horizontal bar. He was startled by a mouse that had jumped out of the grass and fell down, causing a suffocating pain in his head, which became his last memory. "Oh my God, are you playing with me?" The young man suddenly looked up and shouted, with a silly smile on his face. The sunlight poured down on his green face, mocking the hint in his smile, making it particularly obvious. After 16 years of drifting north in his previous life and facing 36 obstacles, he finally signed a contract with a record company to record his first solo album. At the same time, he was promoted to the highest-rated variety show in the country, Magic Light Avenue, and successfully advanced to the finals. The haze that covered his eyes dissipated, and a magnificent avenue filled with flowers and applause, shining with golden light, emerged before him. Just as he was about to stride forward, a truck rushed out of the slanting thrust, causing him to close his eyes forever. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel a feeling of dying before he achieved his goal, which filled the hero's tears. A long sigh followed by a habitual hum of this familiar melody. When I am different from the world, it makes me different. Persistence for me is to overcome our last stubbornness with a strong determination, to hold on tightly and never let go. Is the next stop heaven? Even if I am disappointed, I cannot despair. 5 days and a month of stubbornness, countless nights of self-licking wounds in my past life. Every time I lightly sing this song, I feel moved to cry, like a clear stream flowing through my heart, washing away those negative impurities. Accompanied by the singing, the smile on his face remained, but the mockery quietly faded away and became sunny. Although I left Earth with deep regret and the starting point of my rebirth was also a failure, life still needs to continue. At least with a young body, I wasted my life and returned as a teenager. So you're hiding here, kid. I thought you couldn't figure it out. You're stuck in a pit and suffocated to death. A thin and tall boy walked over, with no good words in his mouth, but his face went through a process from tight to loose. The boy's name is Xue Bing, and he was classmates with Li Kan for 7 years. He sat at the same desk in junior high school and was in the same class as General Manager Gao. He is a solid and close friend. In junior high school, both of them were Pai Dewang who didn't play on the playground until it was dark and didn't go home. In high school, they even skipped classes and got into pairs, fighting together. However, Xue Bing is not as adept at studying as Li Kan, especially after entering high school. His grades have always been in the bottom 10 of his class, and he has been in the bottom quarter of the school. He has long given up the idea of going to college, and the college entrance examination is just a passing experience for him. Don't look like the end of the world, it's just 3 points away. I'm 3 digits away, and I'm not living as I should. Get up, eat, turn sadness and anger into appetite, play a game with someone in the afternoon, sweat all over, and forget all your worries. If not, I'll drink with you at night, get drunk and relieve 1,000 worries. Xue Bing reached out his hand as he spoke. Li Kan grabbed his hand, stood up with help, patted the dust on his buttocks, and then touched his empty and deflated lower abdomen. He nodded and said, "Fill your stomach first." The official summer vacation starts on July 1st, but the final exams for each grade have already ended, which means it has entered the holiday early. Today, high school seniors return to school to check their scores, leaving only a few for lunch. There were only a few scattered tables of people dining in the cafeteria, and there were only 3 windows left for serving food. Xue Bing took the initiative to treat the guests, but Li Kan didn't argue with him. He found an empty seat under the ceiling fan and didn't have much time. Xue Bing brought 2 sets of meals and then went out to buy 2 cans of cold beer from the small shop. The 2 men didn't need to worry about their appearance and wolfed down their food. In less than 10 minutes, Xue Bing ate the plate flat and took a big sip of beer. He made a sound and breathed a sigh of relief. He took out a bag of soft peonies from his pocket and popped out a pointed one, only to be snatched away by one hand. Some people have bad morals, Li Zhan frowned slightly. Influenced by the smoking ban regulations of later generations on Earth, not smoking in public places has become a moral standard. What are you afraid of? I have already graduated, and even if I show it to the homeroom teacher, it won't be a big deal. Xue Bing didn't mind, but didn't insist and casually threw the cigarette box on the table. At this moment, a group of people walked into the cafeteria, and Xue Bing squinted her eyes and pouted, "Ah, didn't you say you had to confess to her once after the college entrance examination, otherwise you wouldn't give up? It's better to choose a day than to collide with one, just now. What if the exam is disappointing and the romance is successful?" Li Kan looked in the direction indicated by him, and this group of people were half male and half female, with their own class and other classes. Li Kan quickly recognized Xue Bing as her. She was 1.65 meters tall, with a classical and beautiful melon seed face, a pair of charming peach blossom eyes, a pink dress with 2 lotus-like legs exposed, and a pair of light-colored sandals. The girl's name is Qiu Yan, the literary and artistic committee member in the class, and she is one of the few school flowers in the school. She passed the interview at Xijiang Conservatory of Music in advance, and passed the undergraduate entrance examination, making her admission a certainty. The specific major is still uncertain. In his sophomore year of high school, Li Guan and Qiu Yan performed on the same stage at a school cultural and artistic evening party. Qiu Yan sang, and Li Guan followed the rhythm while bouncing the ball, combining literary and artistic styles. He was rated as the most popular program in the evening party. The two of them approached each other and gradually developed into friends, but their lovers were not yet full. However, after entering the third year of high school, Qiu Yan's active estrangement caused their relationship to plummet, and even after the end of the semester, they never rode bicycles together after school again. Li Guan went from being a potential boyfriend to a seemingly silent, humble, and unable to let go licking dog. New book launch. Book lovers are welcome to collect and vote on it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Agreements between you and me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Agreements between you and me. Li Kan had not yet made an attitude, and the group of people had already arrived. One of the handsome boys, standing tall, swept over the beer cans on the dining table and the cigarette box confiscated by Xue Bing, and took them into his eyes. He said, "Li Kan, look at your decadent appearance. You're both drunk and smoking. It's really disappointing. It's just 3 points away. At best, if you study again for a year, you can get up from wherever you fall." It's completely in a critical tone of education. I don't know, but I thought he was Li Kan's teacher. Wang Xiaokuan came from the neighboring class after finishing his third year of high school. There were several boys in the class who had ideas about Qiuyan, but he was the least interested in Li Kan's. You have to manage. Which onion are you? Xue Bing threw it over without hesitation. I exceeded the undergraduate score by 26 points. If I only count one onion, then you can't even count one onion beard. Wang Xiaokuan glanced at him, his eyes full of contempt, a garbage that even missed the college score by a long distance. Xue Bing's heart lit up and he said, "You have to pretend to be forced to go home and pretend to be away." Qiu Yan didn't even look at Xue Bing and said, "Li Kan, birds of a feather flock together. I hope you take good care of yourself." The tone was as plain as water, and there was no hint of emotion mixed in. In Qiuyan's eyes, Li couldn't see any negative emotions such as disappointment or dissatisfaction, only a kind of indifference and estrangement. Combining the meaning of her words, Li Kan suddenly understood her gaze. They were already people from two different worlds, not even ordinary friends anymore. After Qiuyan finished speaking, a group of people were about to continue moving forward, as if they were just passing by. Li Kan suddenly shouted, "Qiuyan." As Qiuyan turned her head to look, Li Kan slowly said, "Do you remember our agreement?" Qiuyan had a bewildered expression on her face. Li Kai went on saying in the same flat tone as her. "We hid under the eaves on that thunderous rainstorm afternoon last summer vacation, and I mustered the courage to tell you that you said that you didn't want to fall in love before graduating from high school. Seeing my disappointed expression, you said that if I told you again after the college entrance examination, your answer would be yes, and we would clap our hands and swear to keep the agreement." A dead silence. Everyone seemed to have heard the Arabian Nights and discovered the New World, with strange expressions on their faces. Xue Bing's face was also full of disbelief. Li Qing once confessed to Qiuyan. How could I not know? Wang Xiaokuan's face stiffened slightly, and the corner of his mouth curled. He sneered, "Li Zhan, have you been stimulated too much and become mentally deranged?" Li Gan slowly stood up, 5 or 6 centimeters taller than Wang Xiaokuan. He looked down at Wang Xiaokuan's eyes and made him feel uneasy. Then he said, "Since you know that being stimulated can make you crazy, then shut up and say it again. I won't say it 3 times. The aura of the old social arena is comparable to that of the tender grass that has not yet stepped out of the ivory tower." After a round of confrontation, Wang Xiaokuan was defeated, and his mouth twitched. It seemed that he was not convinced, but ultimately he remained silent. Qiuyan recovered from her dazed state and said with hatred, "Li Zhan, you're talking nonsense. I've never said I'm willing, and I said my answer would be 2 words. Li Gan let out a faint sigh and said, then let's just assume I made a mistake. What does dang mean? Originally, which two words? Not willing. That's good. Li Gan nodded calmly, seemingly relieved, sat down, and continued eating. What does that mean? That's good. Qiuyan almost got her nose twisted in anger. It was clear that she refused Li Gan, making it seem like she was the one being rejected. Xiaoyan, let's go. What's so much nonsense about this kind of person? The girl next to her advised, and Qiuyan finally calmed down a bit. She let out a cold snort, and the group of people left. Li Guan finished the remaining food, and after the two of them left the cafeteria, Shui Bing slapped Li Guan on the shoulder and sighed bitterly, I've completely given up now. I know it's the south wall, but I still want to hit it head-on. Why bother? Li Kan glanced at him and said, didn't you encourage me to collide? I asked you to jump off the building. Do you want to jump? I just want an answer, Li Kan shrugged. The answer was something the original owner wanted, was afraid of wanting, but didn't have time to ask for. In my memory, the original owner had a deep affection for Qiuyan. Since one time, when I saw Qiuyan having lunch with other boys, the original owner questioned Qiuyan and was warned by Qiuyan that she didn't date before college and would date anyone she wanted. If the original owner were so narrow-minded, she wouldn't even be able to be friends. Afterwards, many lunchtime, Qiuyan and other boys walked in and out of the cafeteria together. The original owner hid in the corner and secretly watched. Many times after school, Qiuyan and other boys rode bicycles together. The original owner quietly followed behind, feeling pain and agony in his heart. During the day, he wandered around in class, and at night, he couldn't sleep, but he chose to silently endure it. More than half of the original owner's thoughts were focused on this woman throughout her third year of high school. In a sense, failing the college entrance examination is also related to this woman. It was the high five that made the original owner hold the last glimmer of hope, even if he knew it was self-deception, at least he had a reason to be an ostrich. Shui Bing pulled the topic aside and said, how about finding someone to play basketball or going to the table tennis room to compete? Li Kai pondered for a moment and said, I want to go to nearby audio and video stores, bookstores, and newsstands. If it were the original owner, there seemed to be only two paths in life after failing, either repeating the exam for a year or stepping into society to find a job. However, now he has a third path, the path to music. However, the original owner's memory of information about this space's entertainment industry is too limited, and he needs to actively explore it. Shui Bing was stunned and nodded quickly. Yes, today is your birthday, and it's up to you the final say. Throughout the afternoon, the two of them rode bicycles around 5 audio and video stores, 3 bookstores, and 7 or 8 newsstands within 5 kilometers. With the continuous gathering of information, Li Kan has a rough concept of the Chinese pop music industry in this space, which is both similar and quite different from that on Earth. Similar is the development trajectory. By the time point of 1996, it had also risen for more than 10 years and was at the peak of the golden decade of the record industry. The difference is that there was no absolute dominance of Hong Kong and Taiwan singers, especially in the 1990s when the 4 heavenly kings swept the world. In this space of Hong Kong island singers only emerged at the forefront in the mid to late 1980s. After entering the 1990s, mainland singers emerged one after another, competing with the first 2 and showing 100 flowers competing. The most different thing is that Li Kan doesn't know any singers in this time and space, and he has never heard of any songs. In this way, compared to his previous life, Li Kan gained 2 major advantages out of thin air. Firstly, having rich life experiences but not yet reaching the age of 18, youth has always been the greatest asset for pop music. Secondly, in the 4th year of his previous life, he began to be exposed to various musical instruments, especially playing a very good guitar. From the 8th year, he also began to engage in songwriting, referring to the learned scores of no less than 1,000 songs, which almost encompass classic works in Chinese, Cantonese, and English pop music. With the advantages of timing and location, I still carry my own belongings. If I don't continue pursuing my dreams, it's better to hit me dead and try to be reborn back on Earth. The road to the future became clear in Li Guan's mind, and he couldn't help but imagine it. Note: if searched online, the golden decade of the record industry would be from 1988 to 1998, but this refers to the Hong Kong and Taiwan regions, while the golden period of the Chinese-language music industry in mainland China is from the early 1990s to 2006. This is a general concept, and the decade with the highest total sales has various versions. I personally agree with the period from 1995 to 2005. To explain another mistake, many friends may think that the decline of the traditional music industry is due to the rise of the Internet. In fact, it is the iPod 3 listing that completely replaced the Walkman and later the smartphone that really made the music industry rise and fall. P.S. Book enthusiasts, don't forget to bookmark and vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Two Legs Parallel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Two Legs Parallel. The sun is setting in the west. After parting with Xue Bing at the intersection, Li Guan rode 2 more roads and turned into a residential area called Xiangyang New Village. This is an old-fashioned community built in the early 1980s. The original owner moved in before starting elementary school and has been living there for over a decade. Looking at the dilapidated exterior walls covered by ivy, Li's eyes lit up with envy. Based on the experience of future generations on Earth, as we enter the new millennium, with the continuous heating up of the national real estate market, a wave of demolition has also arisen. Many ordinary people benefit from this and turn their lives upside down. Although Xianyang New Village is not a true shantytown, due to its low and old buildings, it is no different from the shantytown in the eyes of developers and is the main target of demolition. I don't know if the future development trend of China in this world will also be similar to that of the Earth. If the real estate market could heat up a few years earlier, as a second-generation fan, I would have my first bucket of gold, so I can save the struggle before debut and directly self-pay to release my first album, hehe. Thinking of the beauty, Li opened his mouth and drooled until he locked his bike and looked at the entrance of Building 3, only then did he unconsciously suck it back into his mouth. Building 3, 301. Standing outside the door, Li Zhan's knocking hand paused, then he put it into his pocket, pulled out a key, and opened the door. Li's mother, who was walking out of the kitchen with a bowl and chopsticks in her hand, paused in her footsteps. At the same time, a little girl emerged from the small room. Li Ran is Li Gan's younger sister. After summer vacation, she entered the second year of junior high school. She is 1.66 meters tall, but she has a baby face and 2 braids of sheep horns at the back of her head. She is very cute. After a moment, Li's father also walked out of the room. In the narrow living room, parents and sisters looked at Li Guan from 3 different angles as he had just entered, and it was extremely quiet for a moment. Li Ran, you promised to take me for a big meal at noon. It's already a few o'clock, and if you don't come back, your parents will call the police. Li Ran got up and was glared at by Li's mother. Ran, get your brother's slippers. Li Ran pouted and reluctantly stepped forward. She dug out a pair of slippers from the shoe cabinet, took the sports shoes that Li Kan had changed into, and turned to go to Li Kan's room. A pair of canvas sports shoes priced at around 10 yuan each have poor breathability and emit a strong odor in hot weather. They need to be placed on the balcony for blowing. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. Calling a strange couple parents may seem awkward to think about, but when it comes to integrating the memories of the original owner and the connection between their bloodlines, Li Gan doesn't feel much resistance. This apology is naturally due to failing the college entrance examination. Li's mother tilted her face, took a sniff, and then turned back. A gentle smile had already squeezed out on her face, and she said softly, "Silly child, what are you sorry for? Hurry up and wash your hands, wipe your face, you can eat now." Li's father was a serious person who nodded with a relaxed expression and said, "Let's eat first." Li Lian hummed vaguely and walked into the bathroom with a heavy head. Li's father is a technical worker in a state-owned machinery factory, with a monthly income of over 1,000 yuan. Including the year-end bonus, his annual income is about 15,000 yuan, barely reaching the average wage level in Nanshire. Li's mother is a cashier in a department store, with a monthly salary and bonus of over 700 yuan. Over the course of a year, it's less than 10,000 yuan. A family of 4, life is a bit tight. Like tonight's 5 dishes and 1 soup, with fish and meat, it's a rare and sumptuous meal. The atmosphere at the dinner table was somewhat dull. Li's mother looked at her son, who was eating with a heavy head, and felt a bit worried. She put a piece of pork tenderloin into Li's bowl and comforted him, saying, "Yan, don't be discouraged. You're an August-born RB and started school a year earlier than other classmates. Now you're just going back to the same starting line, repeating your studies for a year, and you'll definitely be able to pass the exam." On the side, Li Ran flattened her mouth and said, "Mom, you're biased." Li Mu glared at her daughter and picked out a piece of fish without any bones and put it into her bowl. The little girl was satisfied with this and smiled, agreeing, yes, it's just a 3-point difference. After repeating for a year, I will be guaranteed to be admitted to Shijiang University next year. Shijiang University is the best university in the province, ranking among the top 20 in the country. Li's father didn't say a word, just gave Li Kan an encouraging look. Li Kan smiled a bit reluctantly and continued to quietly cook. After dinner, Li took a shower and headed into his room. The family originally had 2 rooms, a large room of 11 square meters and a small room of 4.5 square meters. After Li Ran was 10 years old, the large room was separated by 1/3, and both siblings had independent bedrooms. Lying in bed, looking out the window at the night sky with a solitary moon hanging high, Li Kan's mind gradually calmed down. The direction for the future has been set, and he is full of confidence, but the beginning of everything is difficult. As a senior musician, Li Kan deeply understands that the music industry is not the sports industry, and there are always examples of talented people being buried. No matter how good the personal conditions are, if you want to make a debut, you must have the opportunity, as well as Bo Lu. When the opportunity will come and when Bo Lu will appear, this is not something that Li Guan can predict. Perhaps 1 year, maybe 3 to 5 years, maybe even longer. As for dismantling the second generation, that's even more elusive. In his past life, he drifted north for 16 years, and in the blink of an eye, he became middle-aged. Do you regret it? No. Firstly, he enjoys music, secondly, he yearns to be recognized by flowers and applause, thirdly, he has no capital, education, or background, and besides singing, he has no skills. If he wants to reach the pinnacle of life, his only hope seems to be music. The most important reason is that his parents divorced when he was young, and his mother-in-law who raised him passed away in his freshman year of high school. From then on, he had no worries and his fate belonged only to him. But after being reborn, he has a complete family, combined with the memories of his original owner, his father's kindness and mother's love, and the relationship between siblings is also excellent. Due to the short time spent together, this family was still somewhat unfamiliar, but he didn't reject it at all, and even longed to integrate into it. Lack of family affection in previous lives makes me feel precious. In the movie, Chinese-style partner, Cheng Dongqing said. What is a dream? Dreams are things that make you persevere and feel happy. Li Kan deeply thought about this, but still felt that it was not enough. He needed to add a bottom line that cannot destroy the happiness of a family. If he were to confront his family now and prepare to give up his studies and embark on the path of music, it would be like dropping a bomb, and the peace of this family would be shattered. It's like the son of an ancient peasant family, who had never done a business before clamoring to abandon farming and start a business, or like a boy born in a scholarly family who had never killed a chicken before clamoring to abandon his books and join the army. Therefore, for the time being, we can only keep it a secret and let our family know when the time is right, in order to gain understanding and support. The so-called maturity is the end of one's past life, signing a contract with a record company to become a true professional singer. However, time does not allow him to procrastinate blindly. If he cannot make it before the end of summer vacation, his parents will definitely retaliate against him by going to school and throwing his hard-earned money into the sea. Opportunities cannot rely on waiting, we must actively strive for them. Bowl cannot rely on waiting, we must volunteer. Lee Kan clarified his thoughts and made a decision in his heart. Next, he will race against time, with two legs running parallel. On the one hand, singing ability is the fundamental factor that singers cannot avoid. With the foundation of their past lives, such as pitch accuracy, musical sense, melody, emotional engagement, etc., it is not a problem. However, after all, with a different body, the voice needs to be polished, and the breath needs to be trained. He plans to spend a month making up for it, and then sign up for a singing competition that will start in late July and early August, striving to get a good ranking and make his debut through the competition. On the other hand, he will throw stones and roads, select a few golden songs to deliver to various record companies. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Songs from the Classroom. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 4 Songs from the Classroom. Lee Kan saw that it was not too late and called Shui Bing. There was no need to beat around the bush in their relationship, so he said directly, "You two things, please help me handle them." Shui Bing exclaimed, "Speak up. In the next few days, I will submit articles to several record companies and leave your home phone number. You can tell your parents that if someone from the record company calls your home, record their contact information and let me know later." Lee said, "Also, isn't your brother-in-law in charge of logistics at the normal college? The university holiday is even earlier than high school, and now teachers and students should have gone home. There must be a piano classroom in the school, so let your brother-in-law find a way. I want to go there every day to practice singing for a few hours." Lee finished speaking in one breath, and after a moment of silence, Shui Bing said, "Are you sure you're not talking in your sleep and haven't shaken me?" Lee Kan smiled and said, "I'm very clear-headed. I won't go into detail with you on the phone. The phone bill is very expensive, so we can discuss it when we meet." He urged, "Contact your cousin's husband now, I'll wait for your reply." Shui Bing's efficiency is very high. Within half an hour of hanging up, the phone returned. It's best to go in the afternoon. In the morning, some art teachers may learn to occupy the vocal classroom and ask for the key to the door room. Lao Zhao has already said hello. Doing things well, colorful. Li Guan's life has become more regular. Every morning at 8 o'clock, I wake up and practice breathing for an hour. After breakfast, I hide in my room and listen to Li Ran's popular song cassette tapes. I take Li Ran to a nearby fast food restaurant for lunch to solve the problem. Then, I carry my backpack and go out with a basketball, ride my bike to the normal college to practice singing for 2.5 hours, and play basketball for another hour. I arrive home before my parents finish work. After dinner, I continue to hide in my room and study music scores. I go to bed at 11 o'clock on time. Life may seem dull, but it is not boring at all, like a slowly flowing stream, silently passing by. After the copyright registration numbers for the 4 golden songs, I Expect, 1,000 Reasons for Sorrow, Short Hair, and Darkness, were obtained, Lee Kan cast a wide net and delivered them to 4 record companies. If it weren't for you making me angry and confused, how could I have forgotten the score in the classroom? I have to go there on a hot day. My aunt, when will you be angry? I will be back in mid-August. I have checked and there will be a singing competition in 6 provinces and 1 city at the end of August. We will sign up together, and the giant group will be invincible, invincible, and invincible. Come on, I was supposed to sign up alone, but you insisted on participating in a group competition. I put in a lot of effort to write 2 songs, rehearsed for a week, and stood up 3 days before the battle. Your credit rating with me has dropped to 0. Alas, the mountaineering team has temporarily drawn strong men, and there are just a few vacant spots. Yesterday, they informed us to leave tomorrow. I'll help you find a temporary substitute. How about Wang Xiyuan? His singing skills are pretty good. He's just over 1.6 meters tall, standing on the stage with me. The woman is tall and the man is short, and his image score is directly lowered. Even if I am willing, is he willing? That's right. Lin Shumiao, forget it. She has returned to her hometown. You can't let her catch up with the train for more than 10 hours, or Gao Xiang. Gao Xiang's voice is much worse. Don't waste your brain. There are only a few in your class that can sing. Either you go back, or it's not suitable. It's better for me to sing alone. Hey, why don't you participate in the Chinga competition? Anyway, you're not ranked. You just want to have a few more experiences before you step onto the podium during your internship, and go hiking with me. Climbing is also a kind of experience. Climbing the Green Peak at an altitude of over 5,000 meters and staying in a state of hypoxia for a month or so, do you think I have the same tendency towards self-abuse as you? Che, I am challenging myself and pursuing my dreams. I participate in the youth song contest to pursue my dreams. In the peaceful campus, 2 young girls walked into the teaching building B with their mouths together. One of them was wearing a school uniform, just over 1.7 meters tall, with a decent appearance, but still slightly inferior to her impressive figure. Her wheat-colored skin exuded a healthy radiance. The other white dress is like snow, 2 or 3 centimeters lower than the girl in the school uniform. She has a beautiful oval face, black straight hair, delicate and 3-dimensional facial features, especially her eyes, which are clear like a bright moon, especially beautiful. In the spacious and bright corridor of the teaching building, there is a faint sound of singing and piano accompaniment. The 2 women exchanged a glance and continued forward, their singing becoming increasingly clear. A life full of ups and downs does not mean confusion and confusion. It is a masculine male voice, sometimes high-pitched, sometimes low-pitched. At the tightly closed classroom door, the 2 women stopped and the girl in the school uniform whispered, Zhao Chuanxiong's life. The girl in the white dress nodded slightly and was about to knock on the door when the girl in the school uniform suddenly grabbed her and said, Jingyun, how is this person's voice? The girl in the white dress was taken aback and quickly understood her meaning. She rolled her eyes and said, I don't even recognize her. I just invited her to compete in a group competition. Thank you for coming up with the idea. What's the point? I joined the district choir in high school, and I don't come from various schools yet. I don't know anyone, but I just participated in a group competition. It's not like you went on a blind date. The girl in the school uniform shrugged and shrugged. Besides, this vocal classroom is exclusively for our art department. It's impossible for senior students to graduate. I can't figure out who this voice is from our junior year. It's highly likely that she's a freshman or sophomore, maybe she has seen it before. This time, the girl in the white dress did not immediately deny it. After a moment of silence, she whispered, listen again. After resting for a while, a song came again. The wind chimes blend deep into my heart, picking up old memories of the past. The girl in the school uniform made a look and said, it's your original work, wind chime. The girl in a white dress didn't answer and listened silently. At the end of the first paragraph, the piano accompaniment stopped and the singing also stopped. The girl in the school uniform said sideways, the voice is really good. The girl in the white dress pursed her lips and pondered. The girl in the school uniform knew at a glance that she was a bit moved and was about to further encourage her. With a creak, the tightly closed classroom door suddenly opened. Li Kan inside the door was stunned, and the 2 women outside the door were also stunned. Are you from the art department, freshman or sophomore. The girl in the school uniform had a nostalgic and scrutinizing look in her eyes. Li Kan shook his head and said, "I'm not from the art department." The girl in the school uniform raised her eyebrows and said, "Which department are you from?" "This vocal classroom is exclusively for the art department, how could you be inside?" "I am a new student and haven't enrolled yet. As I have to participate in a singing competition, I asked a friend to help me find a place to practice my voice." Li Kan smiled apologetically and said, "Two senior students, do you want to use this classroom?" The girl in the school uniform stared at Li Guan and asked, "Have you ever come to our school to play basketball before?" End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Sound of Heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The Sound of Heaven. Li Gan was somewhat surprised, but still nodded truthfully. During high school, he played basketball with Xue Bing at the normal college, especially during the winter and summer vacations, which were not uncommon. The girl in the school uniform suddenly opened her eyes and pointed at Li, saying, "I remember, it was you. There was also one who was a bit shorter than you, with a flat head. The two of you played on the basketball court over there in the boys' dormitory, with Gong Wei from our department and two boys from the math department. I was on the sidelines at the time, but in the end, I and a few others came up to argue. It was Saturday morning, remember?" Li Gan choked for a moment. Although the original owner's memory was forgotten, the girl in the school uniform pointed out that another boy was shorter than him, with a flat head. Who was it? Not Xue Bing. It should be right. Playing football and basketball is already prone to conflicts. He and Xue Bing are young and energetic, and they fight at the slightest disagreement. Not to mention 2 against 3, they don't hesitate to play 4 against 5. The most brilliant achievement was 2 on 5, where 5 small thugs were defeated. The girl in the school uniform knew she didn't mistake someone when she saw Li Kan's expression, and snorted, "I can't tell. You're quite versatile, you're good at basketball, you're also quite aggressive in fighting, and you can even play the piano and sing." Li Gan chuckled, "Is this praising him or damaging him?" The girl in the school uniform asked again, "You said you're going to participate in a singing competition, a youth singing competition." Li Kan replied, "It's next month's global Chinese singing competition." The girl in the school uniform exclaimed, then suddenly turned to the girl in the white dress and said, "I said I've seen him before. What do you think of him?" Li Kan is a bit confused. What does he mean by? In my mind, I couldn't help but think of the ancient costume movie where wealthy families choose servants, and the butler reviews them first and then asks the master. The girl in the white dress stood tall and graceful, like a beautiful statue. Looking at the girl in the school uniform and then at Li Kan, she spoke softly and said, "I signed up for the youth song competition. I was originally a group with my friend, but my friend has something to attend. Are you interested in participating?" Li Zhang blinked and said, "Do you mean I will replace your friend and we will compete together?" The girl in the white dress nodded lightly and said, "The last song you sang just now was the one I wrote for the Chinga competition." Li Kan suddenly realized that no wonder the lyrics on the score were marked as A and B. Li Kan didn't mind participating in a singing competition to warm up before August, let alone partnering with a beautiful woman. However, he didn't immediately agree and made a small request. "Senior sister, can I listen to you sing a segment?" The girl in the school uniform looked at him and said, "Why, doubt my friend's singing ability?" Li said, "Since it's a group competition, we have to listen to each other's voices to see if they are suitable." The girl in the white dress said hello. The girl in the school uniform playfully said, "First, I'll give you a preventive shot. My friend is the voice of nature, which is very discouraging. You need to be mentally prepared." Li widened his smile. In the corner of the classroom, there stands a black painted piano. The girl in a white dress sits gently in front of the piano, with a straight and slender figure that appears soft and slender. 10 jade onion fingers jump like lively notes. After a prelude, her red lips light up and a melodious voice comes out. Life is a journey, and we meet on the journey. You don't ask where I come from, I don't ask where you are heading. The voice is like a person, the tone is pure and transparent, and when you speak, it gives a stunning feeling. Although the natural sound may be a bit exaggerated, the voice condition is really excellent. Her vocal range is very wide, and the transition between high and low tones is not difficult at all. In terms of singing ability, she is much stronger than the current Li Kai. However, after the initial stunning, listening to her will feel that there is a slight flaw, lacking a sense of recognition. Identification is not just about timbre, but also about song processing. It can be understood as a person's thoughts, life experiences, emotional accumulation, etc., integrated together to form a perception, integrated into the singing voice, and form a unique style. This thing, somewhat ethereal, is the soul of singing. It's like a piece of jade, no matter how good its texture is, it's just a beautiful piece of jade that must be carved before it can be elevated to a work of art. The vocal performance is excellent and highly malleable. If there is a suitable song, with guidance on song processing, perhaps one can truly stand out in the competition. Li narrowed his eyes, as if lost in thought. The girl in a white dress finished singing a section and turned her head to look at Li Kai, saying, "The song you sang before was called Wind Chime. I plan to put it in the finals, and this song is called Two People's Travel. It was prepared for the preliminary round, and I marked it as A and B on the score. I am responsible for singing A, and you can sing B. Today, memorize the lyrics, and tomorrow we can schedule a time to meet and rehearse, okay?" Li Kan was a bit stunned and didn't immediately respond. The girl in the school uniform gave a sound and said, "You sound silly. I didn't give you a vaccination before. Your heart isn't that fragile, right? Actually, your voice is also good and your singing skills are also good." Li Kan suddenly said, "Is there a live broadcast of the Chinga competition on TV?" This question is a bit abrupt, but the girl in a white dress still said truthfully, "The semi-finals are all broadcasted on TV. The entertainment channel in Xinjiang province has live footage of the semi-finals, and the finals are live broadcast." Li's eyes lit up for a moment. Previously, he just had a warmed-up attitude, listened to the singing of a girl in a white dress, and confirmed that the Chinga competition was being broadcasted on TV. His mindset changed. It's not impossible to debut through the Chinga competition. Senior sister, it's okay to use these two songs from you for the preliminary and final rounds, but I need to make some changes in some areas. Seeing the girl in the white dress frown slightly, Li Kan explained, "These two songs have some musical errors, and the melody is too flat to fully express your voice." When the girl in the school uniform heard this, she was displeased and said, "Did you make a mistake? My friend writes songs at a professional level. Can you also write songs and be better than my friend?" Li Kan looked at her expression, which you couldn't help but understand, and even at the girl in the white dress, she remained non-committal. With an indifferent smile, he said, "Then I'll sing a song to show off and compare it." The two women exchanged a glance and saw a hint of surprise in each other's eyes. The girl in a white dress stood up and gave way. Li Kan sat down in front of the piano, straightened up, and for a moment of contemplation, played the piano keys with 10 fingers. As the melody played, she spoke and sang, "I look forward to the day when I will come back, return to my original love, return to my virginity." However, with just a few lines of lyrics, the girl in the white dress shrugged and moved, and the girl in the school uniform also had a momentary change in her expression, which immediately attracted her. Say goodbye, exploring in a roundabout manner, walking high without leaving any regrets. When the song reached its climax, the voice suddenly rose and changed into a mix of true and false voices. The delicate body of the girl in the white dress trembled slightly, only feeling the goosebumps all over her body being stimulated, and instinctively holding her breath. Although the singing was not perfect, the breath was a bit floating, and there was a high note that almost broke. But it cannot be denied that the lyrics, melody, artistic conception, and the abundant emotions in Li Can's voice of this song strike directly at the soul. Just a moment, the sound of the piano and the singing stopped abruptly, and the girl in the white dress felt inexplicably empty in her heart, as if Misaki was pressing her all over her pores, suddenly not pressing. The regret and loss were something that outsiders could not understand. The girl in the school uniform widened her eyes and looked incredulous. She couldn't write a song, but from the perspective of an audience, this song really moved her. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Hubris. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Hubris. Lee took a deep breath and withdrew his emotions from the song. He turned to the girl in the white dress and said, "Senior, what do you think? What is the title of this song? I look forward to it." The girl in the school uniform couldn't believe it and said, "Your original work." Li Can asked in reverse, "Have you ever heard someone else sing this song?" "I expect" is one of the representative works of Zhang Yushan, who is known as a music giant. If you have to rank, The Sea, My Future Is Not a Dream, and The Fish Swimming All Day, are tied for the third representative work. In terms of song quality, it is on par with the first two, and its popularity is not as good. This is because the difficulty of converting the true and false tones of the song is relatively high, and it has been brought to this world by Li Kansas. It can be said that it is original and cannot be miscalculated. The girl in the school uniform fell silent. The girl in a white dress stared at Li Guan and remained quiet for a moment before whispering, "The first round of preliminary rounds will be on July 12th. Today is July 10th, and the 12th is the day after tomorrow, with only one day left." Li Can thought for a moment and said firmly, "I'll stay up late tonight. First, I'll revise the song, A Journey of Two People, and I'll also handle the arrangement. Tomorrow during the day, we'll practice singing in time." Looking at the confidence on Li Guan's face, the girl in the white dress pondered for a moment before nodding lightly and saying, "Okay." Those who engage in art have their own pride, and she is no exception, but she understands the principle of respecting the wise. She has been exposed to lyrics and music for almost a year, and as Li Can said, she still has an entry-level. She is knowledgeable, and compared with Li Can, she knows that her two original works are not of the same level. Li Can nodded and said, "I usually come over in the afternoon. Can you use this classroom in the morning?" "Sure. Let's schedule a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in this classroom." Li Can thought of something and asked, "Do you have a guitar?" Can you bring it tomorrow?" "Sure. My name is Li Guan, and you?" "He Jingyun." "That's settled. Do you want to use this classroom now?" "No, I came to practice singing this morning and pulled down the score. I came over specifically to pick up these two songs. I'll leave now. My friend and I have something else to do." He Jingyun picked up the folder on the piano and handed two original scores to Li Kansas. With a hint of apology on her lips, she waved her hand and pulled on her school uniform before leaving. As she walked out of the classroom, the girl in the school uniform immediately asked for credit. "Jingyun, now I am not only guilty, but also more guilty than guilty. Later, I want to buy a LS assault suit, and you can sponsor half of it." He Jingyun gave her a look of the face you want or not. The girl in the school uniform gave a playful smile and said in a seductive voice, "Sports and violent little talents, they look a bit handsome. Jingyun, I can remind you to be careful. This kind of elementary school brother is the most lethal." As He Jingyun's gaze became more dangerous, the girl in the school uniform quickly changed her tone and said, "By the way, remember to review the 3 anti-wolf moves I taught you tonight. Knowing people knows face but not heart, don't let his bad skin fool you and relax your guard. Alright, keep talking, I won't sponsor anymore." I won't say it anymore. By the way, I still want to buy LS hiking shoes. How about you also like Jingyun? Please walk slowly and wait for me." That night, the lights in Li Guan's room didn't turn off until late at night. The next morning, Li Kai got up at 7:30 at the usual time, but only practiced breathing for half an hour. After washing, he sat at the table drinking soybean milk and eating steamed buns. Li Ran, who was still bedridden, heard the commotion and walked out with disheveled hair, angrily saying, "Li Kan, don't steal my breakfast." Li widened his heart and said, "Mom bought 5 buns. Can you finish them all by yourself?" "Then, leave 3 for me," Li Ran said confidently. "I am now in the process of growing my body and need nutrition. Be careful of excessive nutrition, don't grow too much, only increase waist circumference and facial fat." "No way, don't curse me." After a few words of argument with his elder brother, Li Ran entered the bathroom. When he came out again, Li Kan had already eaten well and had a good conscience to leave 2 meat and 1 dish for the girl. Seeing Li Kan bowing his head to tie his shoelaces, with a basketball and a backpack in front of him, Li Ran asked suspiciously, "Are you going out now?" "Well, you can handle lunch yourself." Li Kan responded casually, tied his shoelaces, and looked up to see Li Ran staring at him with a look of grabbing his own braid. Li Kan chuckled and said, "Why are you looking at me with such eyes?" "Li Kan, you're lying." "Who did I lie to? You definitely didn't go to school for self-study." Li Ran said with reason and evidence, "Last night at around 2 o'clock, I went to the bathroom and saw that there were still lights in your room. This morning, you got up and went to school for self-study. In your 3rd year of high school, I didn't see you working so hard." As he spoke, he put his hands on his hips and let out a proud snort, saying, "To be honest and lenient, what are you going to do? Otherwise, I will tell my parents, including these days, that you go out at noon every day and come back before they finish work. When you say you go to school for self-study and play basketball, I hold a serious skeptical attitude." Li Kai was enraptured. The smelly girl was so good that she threatened her elder brother. So she grabbed a meat mantou and took a bite. "Ah!" Li Ran hesitated for a moment before realizing something. She let out a scream and quickly protected the remaining meat and vegetables on the table, staring at Li Ran with a look of grievance. "You bullied me, I want to tell my parents." Li Kan ignored her and muttered, "Every day for lunch, Mom gives me 10 yuan. I'll take care of 1 meat and 1 vegetable for 3 yuan, and I'll save you 3 meat and 2 vegetables. In July, I'll give you 15 yuan, give me 50 yuan, and I'll give you 10 yuan as a subsidy. I'll also buy you a bunch of snacks. As a result, it's your questioning that comes in. The questioning doesn't count, and you're even threatening me." Li Zhan shook his head and said, "Your brother and I are really cold-hearted. Aren't you saying I'm lying?" "That's right, I'm not telling the truth. I don't go to school for self-study every day, but go to work and help deliver packages. Each package costs 1 yuan, and I can earn around 10 or 20 yuan in half a day. I want to save as much as possible for the summer vacation of 2 months. Firstly, I can take care of the cost of studying for revenge. Secondly, don't you want to buy a Joanna bike? I'll give you a surprise when school starts." Sigh. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of the little girl's tangled face, almost twisted into a ball. Li Quan saw it and finished with a sigh. Then, the conversation changed and he spoke with reason. "Yesterday, I discussed with my boss and decided to change half a day to 1 day in the future. By delivering more express delivery, we can also earn more money. We need to let our parents know about this. They must be sad. My parents believe that raising children is a matter of course and their responsibility, but I am already 18 years old and an adult. I don't want to rely on my parents for everything. I need to be self-reliant and share some of the burden for this family. The 2 generations have different perspectives, and there is no right or wrong. This is called a generation gap, understand?" Li Ran nodded his head as if sucking on rice, and Li Kan followed closely, "So you have to keep this confidential for me. Seeing Li Ran nod his head again with a look of not saying anything to him, Li Ken was satisfied. He quickly wiped out a bun, wiped the corners of his mouth, and took out 10 yuan from his pocket and put it on the table. You can eat lunch today yourself, and I'll buy you snacks for the rest. Remember, you can save any money on 3 meat and 2 vegetables, but you can't save on food. Now that you're growing up, you need nutrition. If you don't have enough pocket money, just ask my brother for it. Brother, you gave me all 10 yuan, then your lunch. The boss is in charge of the meal at noon. If we don't flash, we'll be late. Li Ken picked up his basketball, picked up his backpack, waved his hand, and hurried out. When he arrived downstairs, Li Kanchong let out a long breath, shook his head, and smiled bitterly. He fooled his little sister, who was still a child and quite sensible, to the point where her eyes turned red. He couldn't bear it, but there was nothing he could do. The little girl was not tight-lipped and wouldn't be moved. She would definitely slip her tongue in front of her parents. When school starts, my brother will buy you a new bicycle as compensation, Li Ken said as the guilt in his heart quickly dissipated. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Preliminary Competition. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Preliminary Competition. Since participating in the competition, the most important thing is naturally to promote strengths and avoid weaknesses. He Jingyun's advantage lies in her pure voice, wide range, and easy switching between high and low frequencies. Li Ken only had one night to modify the song, Two People's Travel, and it was impossible to slowly ponder and refine it, only aiming for one goal, to make this song more suitable for He Jingyun's vocal performance. The lyrics have only been changed a few words, but the score has been modified in more than a dozen places, especially in the chorus section, where several endings have been modified and even elevated. The sense of hierarchy is stronger, and the difficulty of singing has also increased significantly. The A and B parts sung by the two have also been reassigned, and the proportion of He Jingyun has changed from less than 70% to absolute lead singer, while Li Ken is only responsible for singing together. The first main song, you need to sing it in a relaxed and casual manner, and the voice should not be so bright. The second chorus needs to be gradual, and the climax lines can be more prominent. The ending of the phrases crossing mountains and wading through lakes is not to bite so hard, but to slide a bit. Throughout the morning, Li Gon transformed into a producer and naturally took the lead. He patiently spent over an hour explaining the details and key points of the song clearly, and then provided guidance and correction sentence by sentence and paragraph by paragraph. He Jingyun is very serious and has a strong understanding. After singing 5 or 6 times, she basically meets the standard. However, the difficulty of the song has increased, and He Jingyun's breathing problems have also been exposed, with a slightly unstable voice when extending the notes. After having lunch in the cafeteria and wandering for half an hour to digest, the two of them returned to the classroom. Li Ken also joined in, responsible for guitar accompaniment. Due to time constraints, this was their first collaboration, and Li Ken only added some in the second and third chorus sections. At around 3 o'clock, after listening to the last record of the two people in the recording machine, Li Ken made an okay gesture and said, "All right, that's all for today's practice. It's just the preliminary round, and we'll steadily advance." He Jingyun pursed her lips and smiled. From morning till now, she has steadily advanced, definitely, absolutely no problem. Such words have popped up from Li Gon's mouth no less than 10 times, and each time is so decisive and unquestionable. It is natural for He Jingyun to find it difficult to distinguish whether it is habitual deception or really full of confidence in her. The two of them tidied up and left the classroom, walking in the corridor of the teaching building. Li Ken casually said, "Senior sister, compared to your heavenly voice, your breath is slightly lacking. I will teach you a method of practicing breath later. As long as you persist for 10.5 days, you can take your control of breath to a new level." He Jingyun said, "What method?" Li Ken shook his head and smiled, "This is not a one-day effort. There will be a competition tomorrow, let's forget today. Let's wait until the day after tomorrow, and I will personally demonstrate it to you. He Jingyun rolled her eyes to herself. This guy was purely trying to satisfy her appetite, and without further questioning, she let out a gentle hum. The Shijiang Youth Singer Competition is a provincial-level singing competition with relatively low standards, but it has attracted more than 500 singing enthusiasts from 8 cities in the province to sign up for the competition. The competition is divided into 3 rounds. The first round is the preliminary round of each city, the second round is the semi-finals, and the third round is the finals. There are about 50 spots for the semi-finals, and 16 people will be selected in 2 more matches to advance to the finals. The semi-finals and finals will be broadcasted on the entertainment channel of Shijiang TV. However, the semi-finals will be recorded live the next day, while the finals will be broadcast live. On the morning of July 12, there was just a thunderstorm. At December 30th, noon, the rain stopped and it was still cloudy. I bought Zhao Yongkang's new album, Indulgence, the day before yesterday and listened to it 5 times, the first classic. Zhao Yongkang's songs are okay, but they can't be compared to Liang Zai's. The song, Waiting Before Dawn, from Liang Zai's new album released before the Chinese New Year is really amazing with its high-pitched sound. Lu Ming's singing ability is not good, he is inferior to my family Zifu's singing ability by circling around the Earth star. Go to hell, compare Guifu to Liang Zai. You're insulting my idol. Cut, just be tough, said the editor-in-chief of Huanqing Entertainment News in an interview. Listening to my family Zifu concert can make people's ears pregnant. Liang Zai stood on stage without even needing to speak, and all the women below became pregnant. Li Gan and He Jingyun did not invite their friends to help. After meeting at the entrance of the Nanchur Cultural Palace, they entered the performance hall together. The hall was filled with voices and young faces, creating a lively scene. As the capital of Shijiang Province, Nanchur has the highest number of applicants for the preliminary competition among the 8 cities, reaching nearly 140 people. There are 9 fixed spots for the semi-finals, and a registration fee of 50 yuan, which keeps out singing enthusiasts who have both performance and self-awareness. The preliminary round is divided into matches, and the first match was played last Friday. The 3 spots have already been allocated. This afternoon is the second one. Li Kan and his companions went to the organizer to draw a draw first, and they were quite lucky. On the 42nd, there were less than 10 people left behind. After drawing lots, He Jingyun sat in the back row of the audience, while Li Zhen ran to the small shop outside the Performing Arts Hall to buy mineral water. Li Zhen. The business at the convenience store was very good. Li Zhen was queuing up when he suddenly heard someone calling him. He turned around and saw a group of people approaching, and couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Fatty guy. After a moment, Li Ken smiled slightly at the chubby guy who called him, then glanced at the others and nodded to signal. 3 men and 2 women, except for 1 boy who is not very familiar with other classes, the remaining 4 are classmates, with Wang Xiaokuan and Qiu Yan among them. The chubby little man exclaimed curiously, Li Zhen, are you also registering for the competition? As Li Ken nodded to confirm, everyone's expressions became strange. Wang Xiaokuan smiled and said, it's really unfortunate that we're going to compete together now. Li Kan was a bit surprised. She thought the contestant was Qiu Yan, who had studied vocal music since childhood. She appeared on stage at several cultural events at school, and now she has been admitted to a music academy, making her a semi-professional singer. Wang Xiaokuan is equally versatile, able to play the violin and perform breakdancing, but he has never heard him show his singing voice. Wang Xiaokuan seemed to have guessed Li Kan's thoughts and smiled faintly, with a hint of arrogance. Last week, Qiu Yan had already qualified for the semi-finals through the first preliminary round, and each preliminary round had limited qualifying spots. In order to avoid self-destructive competition, I rescheduled it to this afternoon's match. Qiuyan and I will schedule a semi-finals to compete for the final. The implication is that advancing to the semi-finals is highly guaranteed, and there is also a considerable chance of advancing to the finals. He straightened his waist again and said with a disdainful expression, Li Kan, listen to my good advice. If you focus on participating, then it's okay. If you have the intention of advancing to the semi-finals and have not yet drawn lots, you can make up 30 yuan and change to the next match. In my experience, in the 3 preliminary matches, under normal circumstances, the player in the last match has the lowest level and the greatest chance of appearing. Li widened his heart and sighed, old eggs people just can't die alone. So he made it clear for him. You're not saying that you want me to avoid you, a seeded player. In today's 3 promotion spots, one of them has already been reserved by you, right? Wang Xiaokuan didn't answer, with a knowing and questioning expression on his face, but he gave a clear answer. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. You are eliminated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. You are eliminated. The queue reached Li Guan, who took out 2 yuan to give to the boss, pointed to the mineral water on the shelf, and casually said, good intentions, but unfortunately, I have already drawn lots and cannot make any changes. I also have a good advice to advise. Since we avoid self-harm, we should be more thorough. You have already made changes once, so it doesn't matter if you make changes again. After all, 30 yuan is a drop in the bucket for you. After speaking, he took 2 bottles of mineral water from the boss's hand and turned to the chubby guy and others with a smile, I'll go first. Overestimating one's own abilities and suffering for the sake of face. A disdainful voice came from behind, and Li Kan could hear it. The owner of the voice was Qiuyan. He didn't stop and walked all the way back to the Performing Arts Hall. At 1 o'clock sharp, the competition officially began and the scene quickly quieted down. In the preliminary audition, there are many people and time is tight. The judges will not comment, and the host will only provide the contestant's number, name, and song title. The contestants will appear on stage one after another like a dragon's trap. Overall, the level is not too high, with 3 out of 10 being out of tune, 3 having obvious defects in high and low frequencies, 3 purely imitating, and only 1 being commendable. Wang Xiaokuan received the number 29, a cover song of Winter Rain Flying, which was sung with both voice and emotion. However, the imitation marks were a bit heavy, and from the perspective of a professional judge, there was a lack of something belonging to himself. It's like calligraphy and painting, copying the original work and even surpassing it, the value of the original work is vastly different. Among the top 30 contestants, ranking in the top 5 is not a problem. If we want to steadily advance, it may feel too good about ourselves. After the 39th contestant finished singing, Li Kan and the others stood up and went to the waiting area. He Jingyun took a sip of mineral water, took a deep breath, suppressed the faintly accelerating heartbeat, and quietly placed one arm on her shoulder. The sudden situation made her soft body instantly stiffen. As long as we play normally, we can steadily advance. A determined male voice came in her ear, and He Jingyun looked sideways at the gentle and confident smile on Li Guan's face. After a moment of silence, she nodded slightly. Li Kan lightly patted He Jingyun's shoulder twice, then withdrew his hand and felt the weight on his shoulder disappear. He Jingyun's body gradually relaxed, but his heart beat faster and he unconsciously took a deep breath. Now, let's invite contestant 42, the Yunkan group, to bring an original song called The Journey of Two People. After contestant 41 finished singing, with the host's announcement, Li Kan and the others stepped onto the stage. Wang Xiaokuan and others sitting on the right side of the audience seat had a surprised expression on their faces. Lie back, is this the immortal sister who descended to earth? She is even more beautiful than our school's recognized first school flower, Ma Wenjing. The chubby little man looked so shocked that his eyes were about to fall out, and swallowed hard. Li Kan, this guy is disappointed in the exam and proud in love. If I had such a beautiful girlfriend, would be willing to repeat it for a year. Today, He Jingyun is dressed in a light purple dress, with skin like snow and a beautiful face. Her black hair is gently draped over her head, and as she stands on stage, she looks like a blooming green lotus, fresh and elegant, exuding a touch of otherworldly elegance, beautiful to the point of being mesmerizing. Although Wang Xiaokuan and others looked down upon the chubby guy's demeanor, no one said anything. It must be admitted that He Jingyun's appearance and temperament were too outstanding, so outstanding that people felt ashamed of themselves. Regardless of whether Li Guan and He Jingyun are boyfriend and girlfriend, just being paired with such a fairy-like person on stage is enough to make people envious and jealous. Qiuyan's eyes were particularly complicated, and she couldn't help but think of the day when she refused Li Guan's overly calm expression and the relaxed, "That's good. I deliberately distanced myself from you, and you cannot be unaware that the chances of a successful confession are almost zero, yet you still want to confess to me. I thought you were a devoted person trapped in love, but you already have a new goal and are waiting for me to refuse. Li Zhan, you are such a disgusting bastard." After a burst of inexplicable mental stimulation, Qiuyan's heart ignited a fire of jealousy and hatred. Subsequently, He Jingyun spoke with a clear and pure voice, as if adding fuel to the fire of jealousy, making it even more intense. Life is like a journey. I bought a one-way ticket, got on the train, but didn't know where the destination was. After singing a song, Li and his companions bowed. As they stepped off the stage, the audience burst into the most enthusiastic applause of the entire afternoon, mixed with many cheers and whistles. Li widened his gaze and smiled wickedly. There are no less than 50 pairs of wolf-like eyes. If my eyes could bite someone, my unsightly green leaf might have been torn into thousands of pieces. He Jingyun, who was walking ahead, paused noticeably before continuing to start, pretending not to hear. Half an hour later, the last contestant, number 49, finished singing and waited for another 10 minutes. The host held the referee's result and announced, "The finalists for the semi-finals are Zheng Lei, number 16, Yi Jing, and number 42, Yun Can." When she heard the name Yun Can combination, He Jingyun, who had been very nervous on stage before, appeared very calm. On the contrary, Li Guan, who had been very comfortable on stage before, breathed a sigh of relief and unconsciously clenched his fist, whispering, "Yes," in his heart. In fact, today He Jingyun's performance was not as outstanding as the on-site response, and even somewhat unsatisfactory. The tone was still as pure, but much tighter and narrower than during rehearsals. It was also bright, but not transparent, but a bit sharp. Before taking the stage, Li Guan had already noticed that He Jingyun was a bit nervous, but he still underestimated the level of tension. In the first climax, Li Guan almost joined the harmony ahead of time, but in the end, he held back, afraid that it would backfire and disrupt He Jingyun's rhythm. Finally, there was no danger, but the treble that worried him the most was quite accurate. Being able to advance is not surprising, but there is some luck involved. At the end of the event, He Jingyun went to the organizer to register, but Li Can was in a hurry to urinate and didn't accompany her. There were 7 or 8 people in the men's restroom, and Li Can didn't pay attention at first. He waited in line to wash his hands after filling the water, only to find that Wang Xiaokuan and the other 3 were also there. Wang Xiaokuan also seemed to have just noticed Li Can, and his face suddenly turned ugly. Li Gan pretended not to see it, let alone stimulate him, but some people's self-esteem is made of glass. Li Can casually looked up while washing his hands, facing Wang Xiaokuan's 4 eyes in the mirror. Wang Xiaokuan's eyes widened and he said, "What are you looking at?" "Relying on a woman to show her face on stage, I really think I'm amazing." Li Guan narrowed his eyes slightly and suddenly smiled, saying, "You have been eliminated. It's not like losing to you, what's so good about it? You have been eliminated. Mad, if you sign up for the competition alone, it's the next one. If you can advance, I'll write my name upside down. You, who have steadily advanced, have been eliminated." Li Kan shook off the water stains on his hands, wiped them with a tissue, crumpled them into a ball and threw them into the trash can. He smiled and waved at the chubby boy, then turned around and left the bathroom. That calm demeanor, in Wang Xiaoquan's eyes, was a disdain for his red fruit. Anger surged, and there was an impulse to take action. His fists clenched with a creak sound. However, impulsiveness comes back to impulsiveness. He was actually a high-achieving student who had passed the undergraduate admission line, not a social thug. Rationality eventually gained the upper hand, and his fists slowly relaxed, exhaling a sigh of frustration in his chest. The chubby little boy originally wanted to gossip about the relationship between Li Guan and the fairy, but when he saw Wang Xiaoquan's gloomy and terrifying expression, he had to suppress his thoughts. Another boy had a helpless expression on his face, wanting to appease Wang Xiaoquan for a few words, but he didn't know how to speak. Li Kan was right, Wang Xiaoquan was eliminated, which is an ironclad fact. Before the competition, even before the results were announced, Wang Xiaoquan was full of confidence, and the meaning behind the scenes was that he had advanced steadily in the preliminary round. This face was made by myself, who can be blamed? End of this chapter. Chapter 9. She's just playing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. She's just playing. Li, with his hands in his pockets, walked unsteadily to the agreed location to meet He Jingyun. The two of them picked up their bicycles and rode side by side out of the cultural palace, suppressing the afterglow of the sunset. Successfully advanced to the semi-finals, let's have dinner together. Let's celebrate, it's my treat. Next time, my family is waiting for me to eat. Rejected by He Jingyun, Li Kan didn't force himself. He nodded with a smile and changed the topic. Senior sister, you didn't often participate in singing competitions before, did you? He Jingyun gently shook her head and said, I haven't participated before going to college. I once participated in an on-campus singing competition, which is the first time in society. She realized something and said sideways, did I sing much worse today than usual? Do you want to hear the truth or lie? What do you think? Extraordinary performance, perfect to the extreme, makes people doubt life even after listening to it. Hee, of course this is false, but it's not entirely false. You have the potential. As he gradually became familiar with He Jingyun, Li Kan spoke more casually and joked before getting serious. To be honest, your performance today, from the perspective of speaking alone, was only 6 or 7 points, and the emotional expression of the song was at most 5 points. Li Kan pondered for a moment and continued, to successfully advance, firstly, most of the contestants are amateur enthusiasts who have received vocal training with no more than 2 hands. Secondly, your own vocal advantage is significant, as if you can score above 90 points on a regular basis. Even if you perform poorly, you can still score 70.80 points. Thirdly, Yi Jing, the 33rd, is also an original. In terms of singing skills, she did not make it to the top 5, but also advanced. Fourthly, the combination is also a factor. The youth singing competition is not a solo competition, especially in the finals of the finals, which have to be on TV. A variety of singing forms can help increase viewership. I can. That's all I've thought of. He Jingyun digested for a moment and nodded in agreement. Li Guan hesitated for a moment and said, the first round of the semi-finals will be next Saturday. Not to mention today, there are still 9 days left. I think we should make good use of these 9 days and increase our stage experience. Otherwise, if we want to advance to the finals, it may be a bit mysterious. He has already said it very tactfully, but his actual idea is that if he is still at the level he was on stage today, his chances of advancing to the finals are slim. A suspicious cloud appeared on He Jingyun's cheek. Increase stage experience. Li nodded and said, the most effective way is to perform on the streets, followed by bars, restaurants, and shopping malls. Considering that He Jingyun is a female college student and not an outgoing personality, she sings on the streets in broad daylight, casting various gazes at passers-by, but reluctantly doing so. Therefore, what Li Can really hopes for is the second option. He Jingyun was somewhat stunned, and this proposal was clearly beyond her expectations. Suddenly, she fell silent. Li Guan was not in a hurry to urge him. He knew that taking this step would require courage. He Jingyun would definitely be entangled in his inner thoughts. After a moment of silence, he smiled slightly and said, "There is a student at Huaqing University who is nicknamed Zhu Beiji. He is not fat, not greedy, and not lascivious. Others gave him this nickname because his surname is Zhu. He studied for 7 years and participated in 8 sessions of the college entrance examination. When asked, he would calmly say that Huaqing University is my dream." A Japanese individual, in order to learn technology at one of the world's top automobile factories at the time, paid the price of his legs being extremely disabled. Later, when he was interviewed by reporters in a wheelchair, he calmly said, "Cars are my dream, and that person is the godfather of Japanese cars." There was a person in the United States who forced himself to talk to over 100 people on different topics every day for several consecutive years. Later, when interviewed by reporters, he calmly said, "I was born in a refugee area, and my dream is to change my fate." That person is the holder of the annual personal car sales record in the United States. In this world, there are always 5% of people who are abnormal in the eyes of 95% of people, but this world is precisely created by those 5% of people because those 95% give up their dreams and those 5% persist in pursuing them. Li widened his voice and hummed as if enjoying himself. "When I am different from the world, then let me be different. Persistence is to overcome hardness for me. If I compromise with myself, if I lie to myself, even if others forgive me, I cannot forgive. The most beautiful wish must be the craziest. I am my own God, in the place where I live." At this point, the originally lively and free-spirited voice suddenly became high-pitched, revealing a youthful rebelliousness and stubbornness. "I in my final stubbornness, holding hands tightly and never letting go, whether the next station is heaven or not, even if we are disappointed and cannot despair, I in my proud stubbornness, I sing loudly in the wind, this time crazy for myself, this time, I in my stubbornness." The last 2 words hit the key point. At the moment when Yunkan Group stepped onto the stage of the youth song contest, he and she walked hand in hand on the path of pursuing their dreams. A song called "Stubborn" was more than 1,000 words. The song fell silent again. Riding a long way, a red light lit up ahead and stopping at the zebra crossing, He Jingyun slowly said, "Actually, I signed up for the Chinga competition because I am about to intern in my senior year. I want to gain more experience before stepping onto the podium." Her voice was calm, her expression even calmer, and Li Can was no exception, with no unnecessary expressions on her face. The two of them turned their faces to one side, separated by a foot, their eyes intertwined in silence, but neither of them moved their gaze away. She said that the purpose of participating in the youth song contest is not to rank, but to exercise more before the internship. Just because of this, it is destined that one will not choose to go to bars, restaurants, or shopping malls to sing and change places, just like Lee Kansas. Not to mention anything else, if she were to be seen by future students, colleagues, etc., it would be detrimental to her future career path. It turns out that being a teacher is her dream. In the Chinga competition, she's just playing around. Li Can couldn't bring up any more stirring thoughts. This way. He concealed his emotions well, shrugged indifferently, and said with a nonchalant expression, "I can understand." He Jingyun pursed her lips and a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, slightly apologetic. Riding 2 more intersections, Li Guan's direction was further forward, while He Jingyun took a big turn. The two waved goodbye. 10 minutes later. He Jingyun rode into a residential area called Junyuan Mingdi, located in the sub-central area. The community consists of 7 or 8 small high-rise buildings, with a wide distance between them. The road can accommodate 3 cars in parallel, and the greening rate exceeds 60%. In the 1990s, it was definitely a high-end residential area in Nanshire. 5 seats 10A. He Jingyun returned home, the nanny was setting up the dishes, the father was reading the newspaper, and the mother was watching TV. Dad, Mom. He Jingyun took off the guitar from her shoulder and handed it over to the nanny. She smiled and said, "Thank you, Aunt Wu. Why is it so late? The whole family is waiting for you to eat." His mother's expression was not serious, but she spoke in a reproachful tone. "It's okay to say that you just stepped into the house and didn't catch your breath, daughter." Father he looked at his wife helplessly, and when he looked at his daughter again, his eyes were filled with indulgence. "Girl, you're hungry. Go wash and get some food, it's about to start." His father is the vice president of a Sino-foreign joint venture, and his mother is the head of a department in the Education Bureau, a typical loving father and strict mother. However, whether it's a loving father or a strict mother, they all value family education very much. When eating, the table is very quiet, and it is the rule of the He family to eat without hesitation. After dinner, the nanny was responsible for cleaning up, and He Jingyun brewed tea from the kitchen and brought it to her parents. Mother he blew some tea and said, "Jingyun, Aunt Li's son Xiaowei has returned. He has arranged a dinner with us this Saturday night. Please arrange your own time and we will depart from home at 4 o'clock. Aunt Li was a former colleague of Mother He and now works at the tax bureau. Aunt Li's son is 3 years older than He Jingyun. He Jingyun went abroad to study when she was admitted to university and graduated with an MBA this year. Father he smiled and said, Xiaowei will develop in China in the future. These days, he is interviewing at several foreign companies, and you are also interning in your senior year. You young people should communicate more. Mother he nodded in agreement. From the attitude of her parents, how could He Jingyun not guess their thoughts? The relationship between the two families was already good, and they matched each other. Xiao Hui, with a master's degree from overseas, was definitely synonymous with elites in China in the 1990s, which was a deliberate matchmaking. She gave an ambiguous chatted with her parents for a few more words, and then returned to her own room. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Everyone has a share. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Everyone has a share. The warm-toned room was air-conditioned, and 24 degrees Celsius was the comfortable temperature for the human body. He Jingyun stood by the window, looking down at the central garden downstairs. It's not all dark yet, and you can see the aunties taking a walk with their children in the garden, as well as the elderly couple chatting on wooden chairs. The scene is leisurely and peaceful, but for some reason, it feels a bit dull. Perhaps in the future, she will also get used to this mundane life, and even feel that being plain is a kind of beauty, but it is not the present. She is very clear about her parents' positioning in life, excellent but not outstanding. In her first year of junior high school, she passed the piano level 10 exam and was invited to perform at the Youth Palace, but was stopped by her mother. During the college entrance examination, with her grades, she was able to attend the best Zhejiang University in the province, and even a well-known university in the capital city, Magic City. However, at the request of her mother, she filled in Zhejiang Normal University, referred to as Normal College, as her first choice. She doesn't have a rebellious personality, but it doesn't mean she's in her 20s. There's no spark in her heart, no longing for young people. She also yearns for brilliance, even if it's just once, even if it's just an instant, imprinted in her youth, it's enough to savor a lifetime. On the way back, when she politely expressed her refusal, although Li Guan seemed completely indifferent, she could feel the disappointment in his heart, just like when she was invited to perform at the Youth Palace and was stopped by her mother. Similarly, when she set her goal for the journalism department of Zhejiang University, she changed to the Normal College under her mother's will. She has been fond of singing since childhood, and because of her love for singing, she learned piano, guitar, violin, and even songwriting. This is her first time registering for a singing competition in society. Does she really not care whether she stops in the semi-finals or advances to the finals? Can she receive applause from the audience holding trophies on stage, or applaud for others holding trophies on stage? He Jingyun asked herself in her heart and hummed softly, If I compromise with myself, if I lie to myself, even if others forgive me, I cannot forgive. The most beautiful wish must be the craziest, me and my proud stubbornness. I sing loudly in the wind, this time crazy for myself, just this time, me and my stubbornness. When listening to Li Kan sing this song, she appeared very calm, but it was the excessive calmness that indicated her inner restlessness. Compromise with oneself, lie to oneself, forgive others, can one also forgive oneself? This time I'm crazy about myself, just this time, I are proud of our stubbornness. It was gradually getting dark, and in the garden below, under the dim light, the old couple on the seat had disappeared. There was only one elderly woman left to take the child for a walk, dragging the child who had not played enough out of the garden. The singing stopped, and the room returned to silence. The air seemed to slow down, and time seemed to disappear. Suddenly, He Jingyun pursed her lips tightly, with a shallow but stubborn curve at the corner of her lips, as if she had made a major decision. Dad, Mom, our department has a summer course with 8 classes from morning to evening every day, without weekends off. I have decided to sign up and move into my dormitory tomorrow until August 10th. I won't be able to attend Saturday's dinner. Please help me apologize to Aunt Li, Uncle Gung, and Brother Hui. He Jingyun opened the door, took a light breath, and then walked out. After a moment, her voice of pearls falling on a jade plate came from the hall, calm as water, yet steadfast. As Jingyun felt, Li Kan was indeed somewhat disappointed. The Chinga competition was originally not of high standard, only a provincial level competition. Even if it was qualified for the finals, if it could not achieve a good ranking, it would basically miss the opportunity to enter the record company's eyes. He Jingyun's voice condition is very good, but it is not yet good enough to only need to play 6 or 7 points to be able to dominate the crowd and dominate the crowd. Moreover, the venue for the semi-finals is the TV broadcasting hall, and when the spotlight shines on the stage, you are the center of attention. The pressure that the atmosphere brings to the players is much greater than today's preliminary rounds, as you can imagine with your buttocks. The opportunity to rise to power had already been extinguished by the time He Jingyun rejected it. You hurt me and just laughed it off. Your playful words made my dreams come to nothing, leaving a deep impression on me. And that's how you laughed it off. Li Quan rode and gritted his teeth while singing. After the last sentence, his negative emotions were almost eliminated. He let out a soft sigh and a relieved smile appeared on his face. There is a global Chinese singing competition in August, with over 10 competition points set up worldwide, including 3 competition points in 2 provinces and 1 city in China, and Xinjiang province is one of them. This was the target he had originally set his sights on. The trajectory had deviated slightly, but now it's just a correction, and Quan Dang has gained an additional experience. After returning home and having dinner, my mother washed the dishes, and my father watched TV. Just as he was about to plunge into the room, Li Ran grabbed him and insisted that he accompany him for a walk downstairs. As Li Ran's eyes turned, he knew that the girl had a ghost in her heart. She didn't point it out. After going downstairs, she let Li Ran lead her, and the siblings walked out of the new village, talking and laughing. They crossed 2 intersections and entered a bookstore. Li Ran pretended to spin around and finally took a cassette tape, eagerly looking at Li Kansas. The cassette tape is the love song Little Heavenly King, Zhou Ziming's new album, Encounter the Right You in the Wrong Season, released 2 months ago. Why are you staring at me? Half of this month hasn't passed yet, and you've run out of your own pocket money, Li Guan said angrily, asking for sponsorship. I need to save up my pocket money. In August, Xiaotian Deng Yushuan came to Nanshi to hold a fan meeting, and my classmates and I made an appointment to go together. It's Zhou Ziming again, it's Deng Yashuan again, and the poster of the witch on the wall of your room. My sister. Law, how many stars are you chasing? What kind of fairy poster? That's the Diva Murphy. With the addition of Liang Zai, I only have 4 idols in total. My classmate and sister have more than 20 idols. The walls of our house are covered with posters, and there is a bookshelf with cassette tapes and CDs. Hurry up, you didn't say it yourself that morning. If you don't have enough money, just ask for it. Li Gan's face turned black, and I pretended to say something casually, are you serious? Just ask me if you want it. Your brother and I are currently very poor and easy to conquer. I spent 120 yuan on registering 4 songs and used the last 200 yuan of my bank savings. Li Ran curled her lips and said, if you find 20 yuan, you'll have a share. What? I found 20 yuan, which I did, you see. Li said in confusion. Li Ran blinked and said, it was Bing Gu who said it. He called you this afternoon and you were not there. He asked you to call him back and said there was good news to tell you. He also said that you found 20 yuan at the school gate that day. He saw it first, but he didn't give a share. His share was on my head. End of this chapter.